Hey everybody, this is your Digital Super Saiyan 3 back here with another video, and welcome to the month of July. You know, I always look forward to the month of July, especially whenever I do one of these old shows or pay-per-views, and for the month of July I chose to do WWF Fully Loaded 1999. So yes, this has been a long time coming. I've been wanting to do another 1999 WWF show in a long while, because most of the time I've been doing 1999, I've mostly done WCW. So this time around, it's the WWF's turn. And this time around, we're doing Fully Loaded. And it took place on July 25th in Buffalo, New York at the Marine Midland Arena. So, somebody's gotta go, and go for good. Somebody's gotta bleed. Somebody's gotta leave. So, on Sunday Night Heat, on Sunday Night Heat, it was shown that while Stone Cold Steve Austin was having an interview with Jim Ross, he was attacked by the Undertaker backstage, where the Undertaker, ahead of their first blood match, which would happen later on in the night, would bust Austin open during the interview and attack on Sunday Night Heat. Now we cut to our first match of the night. And yes, I forgot to tell you, yes, this show is being called by Jim Ross and Jerry Lawler for the commentary team. Because why wouldn't it be called by Jim Ross and Jerry Lawler? Anyway, opening contest is for the Intercontinental Championship, the first of 5 title matches. As the champion, Edge, who defeated Jeff Jarrett to become the new Intercontinental Champion, would defend his newly crowned title against the man he beat last night in a house show in Toronto, Jeff Jarrett with Deborah. And yes, Jeff Jarrett came to the ring wearing a Don't Piss Me Off t-shirt. And Jeff Jarrett's yelling at the fans saying, "You aren't gonna see the puppies." You know, they all want puppies. You know, they were talking about Deborah, and Deborah was wearing a bikini and a business coat. Well, she was wearing a business coat over a bikini that she came out to the ring with. Either way you slice it, this was a really solid opening matchup. Lights went out during the match as Edge's former Brood teammate Gangrel, you know, he tries to attack Edge. He tries to give Edge a bloodbath, but Edge beat him up and thwarted Gangrel's attempts to give him a bloodbath, and the lights went back on. Jeff Jarrett would get the victory, thanks in part to Gangrel hanging Edge up on the rope, on the top rope. And Jarrett would hit the strobe, and he won back the Intercontinental Championship, so it is what it is. And yes, Jarrett was originally supposed to face Gangrel, or not Gangrel, he was originally supposed to face Ken Shamrock in Toronto, but due to travel arrangements, Shamrock wasn't able to make it, so Jarrett ended up having to wrestle Edge. But yeah, Jeff Jarrett is now the new Intercontinental Champion. And as the WWF Champion Stone Cold Steve Austin was being patched up, Austin came out and attacked Jeff Jarrett. Because, of course, if you know the real-life story, that Austin despised Jeff Jarrett. Austin came out and he beat the hell out of Jeff Jarrett. Austin even gave Jeff Jarrett a stunner for his troubles, and then went backstage to go and look for The Undertaker to get even. Next up, we were getting into our next match, as it is for the WWF Tag Team Championships, as the Acolytes, Farouk and Bradshaw, are looking to win back the WWF Tag Team Championships from the Hardy Boys and their mentor, Michael P.S. Hayes. So, Michael P.S. Hayes and the Hardy. So, we cut backstage to Michael Cole interviewing Michael P.S. Hayes and the Hardys. And Hayes is like, I took the Hardys from obscurity and being curtain jerkers to the Tag Team Championships. And then we get into our next match. It's an Acolytes rules match. Like I said, it's the Acolytes versus the Hardy Boys and Michael P.S. Hayes. It's a 3-on-2 handicap match mostly. It was a very, very fun match to watch. Mostly even though this was no DQ, the only weapon that was mostly used in this match was Hayes' walking stick. Or his cane that he was used. Like this thing gets reduced to nothing as it was used several times throughout the match. But the Acolytes end up getting the victory as both Farouk and Bradshaw hit Michael Hayes with a double powerbomb as they regain the WWF Tag Team Championships from the Hardys. So this was a good way to protect the Hardys as Hayes taking the fall, made sense because, the Hardys, were starting to become like one of the new hot, fresh acts within the company. I mean, you have a guy like Hayes taking the fall, and for the Hardys, that was a really cool finisher that Farouk and Bradshaw did, and, it was a good way to protect them. And I even love how JR referenced the Fabulous Freebirds in this match, referencing Terry Gordy and Buddy Jack Roberts, the other two members of the original trio of the Fabulous Freebirds. Next up, we were getting our third title match in a row as D'Lo Brown defeats Midian to become the new European champion. So, yes, Midian was given the European title by the corporate ministry's Shane McMahon. So, Shane McMahon, who was the European champion, had the European championship in his suitcase. He decided to award it to Midian. Like no one really beat Shane for the title, but he just gave it to Midian. He just said, "Here, Midian, you can have the European title." And so, D'Lo Brown is looking to take the title off of him, and he does. Hitting the lowdown and then the frog splash. D'Lo Brown is yet again the European champion. And now we get into something really entertaining, and that is the hardcore title match. As the champion, Al Snow looks to defend his title against the Big Boss Man. So, in the lead up to this match, Boss Man had stabbed Head with a needle. Or specifically drove a ginormous spike into Head's plastic head. And Al Snow is saying, I'm looking to make sure it stops. And then Al Snow comes out as his music hits. Al Snow's coming out, and then the Big Boss Man comes out. And they start fighting, by the rampway. They started, the Boss Man tries to lock Al Snow in a foot locker. He tries to lock Al Snow in a foot locker, but he doesn't lock the foot locker up. Al Snow comes out of the foot locker. They start brawling backstage, and Boss Man calls him a piece of shit. Boss Man even tries to run over Al Snow with a golf cart, but the golf cart wouldn't start. And then they ended up brawling to the outside where Boss Man then cuffs Al Snow to this fence. Yeah, they brawled into oncoming traffic, and they brawled across the street into a nearby fence. In which Boss Man knocks Al Snow silly across the fence, and then Boss Man pins Al Snow. 1, 2, 3. He's the new hardcore champion. Very, 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 very entertaining hardcore title match between Al Snow and the Boss Man. Probably my favorite of their trilogy of matches. I mean, they would have another match at SummerSlam, and that SummerSlam match was very entertaining in its own right. But then they would have that god-awful Kennel from Hell match. Yeah. But, next up, we got The Big Show defeating Kane with Bob Holly as the special guest referee in a really uninteresting match. Yes, this is a battle of the big men, and Kane and Big Show never clicked as opponents whenever they faced off one-on-one. Whenever they have a singles match against each other, they just never clicked like gears. They just never clicked together. Anyway, Big Show gets the victory thanks in part to some crooked officiating from Bob Holly. Bob Holly, takes out Kane's knee when Kane tries to chokeslam the Big Show, but thanks in part to Bob Holly's crooked refereeing, the Big Show chokeslams Kane all the way to hell. 1, 2, 3, the Big Show is your victor. And then Bob Holly and the Big Show then attack Kane while Kane is down. Then X-Pac runs out to come to Kane's aid. And then the Undertaker comes out and he joins in the frenzy and he beats up X-Pac with the Big Show. He and the Big Show both beat up X-Pac. And we don't know what condition X-Pac's going to be in for that tag team match later on in the night, where he will have to team up with Road Dogg to take on Chyna and Mr. Ass. Next up, we get an Iron Circle match as Ken Shamrock defeats the Lethal Weapon Steve Blackman. So after Blackman had busted up Ken Shamrock's insides, Shamrock was out for revenge against Steve Blackman. Blackman would beat Shamrock in a weapons match, but now they're on Shamrock's turf. They're in an Iron Circle match. This is basically a parking lot brawl. Why didn't they just label this a parking lot brawl instead of calling it an Iron Circle match is beyond me. But yeah, it was a parking lot brawl. You see Sergeant Slaughter out there amongst the spectators. You have Midian and Viscera was out there. The Godfather was out there. A lot of people were out there in that parking lot. It was a dark parking lot. Well, technically it was lit up and there were cars circling around the arena. The last man standing would be declared the victor. Anyway, Blackman came out wearing a WWF t-shirt, a WWF Attitude t-shirt, and he's got long black jeans, and then Shamrock comes out wearing this long sleeve shirt that says Lion's Den, and the two begin fighting around these cars. Glass was smashed, hoods were being dented. It was crazy, but at the end of the day, it was the world's most dangerous man, Ken Shamrock, who took home the W in this matchup. It wasn't a wrestling match, it was a straight up brawl, and it was just so freaking good. Now, next up, we get the big tag team match, like I was alluding to, and it is for the namesake of DX. This is for the DX name, as Road Dogg and X-Pac would defeat Chyna and Mr. Ass, aka Badass Billy Gunn. And yes, during this, Jerry Lawler's talking about the trunks that Mr. Ass is wearing. He says, I ought to get me wrestling trunks like those. And JR's like, not gonna look good for your campaign, running for mayor of Memphis. Oh boy, I just loved the banner between JR and the King in this show. So X-Pac and Road Dogg got the victory, and they own the rights to the DX name. So So it is what it is. But next up, we get the match of the night. It is a strap match. Falls count anywhere. Nope. No disqualifications. No countouts. No disqualification, no countouts. As Triple H defeats The Rock. And yes, he did have a little help from China and Billy Gunn, as China and Billy Gunn would come out to help Triple H during this match. But either way you slice it, you have Triple H's focused. And yes, the winner of this match would go on to meet the WWF Champion at SummerSlam. This was also a #1 contenders match. Now, this is among some of the best work that Triple H and The Rock have ever had with each other. I mean, both used the strap to their heart's content. Both slammed each other into steel steps, barricades. They were fighting inside the ring, outside the ring. They were fighting everywhere. But in the end, it was the Game who ended up taking the W in this bout between him and The Rock. And now we're coming into it, the first blood match. Oh yes, I forgot to tell you that after the Undertaker had helped the Big Show ambush X-Pac, the Undertaker was ambushed backstage as he was coming through the curtain and busted open by Steve Austin. So now, the sides are even. Somebody's gotta bleed and somebody's gotta leave. It's first blood. Now, if the Undertaker does beat Steve Austin in this match, then Stone Cold will never, ever, ever get another chance to wrestle for the WWF Championship, meaning there'd be no rematch clause. Austin would not be allowed to ever have a chance to compete for the title. He would be stuck in the curtain jerking position. He would be reduced down to a lower mid-carder guy. However, if Austin wins, then we would never, ever see Vince McMahon ever again. So at the start of the match, you see Vince coming out to ringside. He's on crutches, because he was also in a motorcycle accident. So yeah, that's why he's on crutches. And he says, I'm going to join you guys for special guest commentary. And then we have The Undertaker come out with Paul Bearer representing the corporate ministry. However, with The Undertaker, to him, he's all about to hell with business. With Austin, it's personal. Of course, Vince McMahon says, I don't care about The Undertaker, I just want him to bust open Austin. And then, of course, we see Stone Cold come out. We see the toughest SOB of the WWF come out. And of course, the fight is on. It's a brawl. At the start of the ramp, we see Vince yell, bust him open, bust him open, bust him open. He's yelling for Undertaker to bust Austin open, but both are, fighting each other off because both are trying to protect where they're stitched up. Because Undertaker got his wounds clamped up before the start of this. Anyway, we see Taker and Austin fight all around the arena until Shane tries to come out and he gets his ass kicked. And the match ends when X-Pac comes out. He kicks the Undertaker, getting an inch of revenge after what had happened earlier on in the night. And then Austin commandeers a TV camera from a cameraman and hits The Undertaker in the head, busting open the Phenom. Undertaker is busted open. The referee sees The Undertaker bleeding, and the match is awarded to Stone Cold Steve Austin. Austin gives Vince one more stunner, but the brawl continues, and then Triple H and The Rock show up. It's bedlam in here. It's bedlam in Buffalo. Undertaker, during the brawl, does manage to bust open Austin, but Austin still stands tall. It doesn't matter. Austin still won regardless. And then it's bye-bye Vince. However, we all know that it wasn't truly goodbye forever for Vince, because Vince was eventually reinstated, so yes, because Vince would be brought back in September. But this was the end of the Austin McMahon feud that had been plaguing the Attitude Era. So this was the end of the Austin McMahon rivalry that had happened for the past year or so, since you've kept up with the World Wrestling Federation during 98 and 99. So yes, this was the end of the Austin McMahon rivalry. And what a way for it to end. And yes, so there's that. So that was Fully Loaded 1999. Final thoughts? I gotta say, it was definitely one of the better 1999 WWF shows. I mean, some people say all the WWF shows in 1999 were utter shit, but Fully Loaded was kind of different, actually. Fully Loaded actually felt like a breath of fresh air compared to what we had to sit through with shows like Over the Edge or King of the Ring, but I digress. Anyway, this has been your Digital Super Saiyan 3, and I will see you guys in August when I do SummerSlam 1991, the match made in heaven. See ya!